Through a window on Parliament Hill, a glimpse into the turmoil of Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party. The Prime Minister facing his MPs as some call for him to resign. In the room, Chrystia Freeland, his now former Finance Minister, whose resignation in a scathing letter to the Prime Minister has sparked a crisis.
She felt very strongly about the job that she was entrusted to do, and I think she felt that she wasn't given the liberty at this stage to do it in a way that she felt was necessary.
Just hours before Freeland was set to deliver an economic statement to Canadians, she revealed she was instead leaving cabinet. Writing to Justin Trudeau, "On Friday you told me you no longer want me to serve as your finance minister and offered me another position in cabinet. The only viable path is for me to resign." She said she and the Prime Minister have been at odds about the best path forward for Canada, adding, "Canadians know when we are working for them and they equally know when we are focused on ourselves." The result? Shock.
What the I mean, how does the Prime Minister, on the eve of a statement that we've been waiting for months, deep six his finance minister and think that things are going to be normal?
And it's prompting more public calls for resignation from inside his own party.
Let's put it this way. Firing a Minister of Finance who has served you extremely well is not what I would call a trustworthy move.
I've been a great defender, but I just don't see how we move forward. I think he needs to go, yeah.
The opposition seizing on the chaos.
I'm calling on Justin Trudeau to resign. He has to go.
The Prime Minister has lost control, yet he clings to power. He's lost control of immigration, lost control of the borders, lost control of spending, deficits, inflation, housing costs. I have a question for the Finance Minister. Who are you?
That's one question Trudeau was able to answer, naming veteran Cabinet Minister Dominic LeBlanc to finance.
My conversation with the Prime Minister today was entirely focused on the work that we want to do to support Canadians around affordability, obviously the threat of tariffs coming from an incoming administration.
But of what happened inside caucus, few had thoughts to share.
He has my confidence here.
No, but does he have, what about caucus?
I'm not, we didn't take a poll.
For now, the Prime Minister himself was silent about his future. There's only a day left for the House to sit, and for the first time, the NDP is saying they would vote non-confidence in the Liberal government if Trudeau stays on into the new year. That could trigger an election.
And Rafi, it seems that's not the only change many are expecting to see in cabinet.
Adrienne, for one thing, Housing Minister Sean Fraser announced earlier today he's not running again, and a number of other cabinet members have made that public, so Trudeau would have to shuffle his team if he stays on in charge at all.
All right, Rafi Boudjikanian in Ottawa for us tonight. I want to bring in our chief political correspondent, Rosie Barton. Rosie, you've been working your sources all day, all night. What are you hearing about what happened inside that caucus meeting?
It was a difficult meeting because of the shock of this and the brutality of this announcement and resignation because of who it was. And Justin Trudeau was confronted with members of his caucus who said, "We think you need to go." There were a couple people that defended him too, Adrienne. And the Prime Minister said that he was going to take this back and he was going to reflect on those comments. I should say there was also a moment of between Chrystia Freeland, who was in that room, and the Prime Minister. Apparently they hugged and had a nice moment. So read into that what you will. But the caucus meeting was a difficult one for him, and he acknowledged that and is going to take back what he heard and think on it.
I bet. I want to ask about something else too, Rosie. The timing of this conversation with Freeland on Friday. What are you hearing about the thinking behind that?
I mean, that is part of probably the most baffling part of how things have unfolded here, Adrienne, to suggest to a finance minister that you want to move her out of her job just days before she's going to table a fall economic statement doesn't make a lot of sense. But there was an attempt here to shuffle the cabinet and to bring in some people who could best confront Donald Trump. That was the intent behind the move. And indeed, Mark Carney was one of the names being moved around the chessboard, if you will. But to to think that Chrystia Freeland would take the offer of a Canada-US cabinet position with no clear department attached and would then go on to present this fall economic statement today, I think has been a gross miscalculation.
You know, I think a lot of Canadians today are thinking, you know, can Trudeau possibly survive this?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're all thinking. And I'll point to a couple of things. For about 6 months, his leadership has been under attack and under pressure from inside his caucus, people directly calling on him to leave. It has also happened around by-election losses and polls that do not seem to be improving. And still, he has managed to hang on. Something is different this time. First of all, the nature and prominence of the resignation of Chrystia Freeland. And the second thing is Donald Trump arriving in about a month's time with the threat of 25% tariffs against this country. At some point, Justin Trudeau may have to decide that for the good of the country and in the face of those threats, he will have to step aside and get someone else in place in order to deal with this very serious problem on the horizon.
Okay, Rosie, thank you.